Yeah. So hi everyone. मेरा नाम अर्जिश आजम है. I'm the country manager for Startup Brand Pakistan and the CEO for Ejad Labs. We run some of the largest technology conferences promoting the Pakistani startup ecosystem inside and outside Pakistan. और आज मुझे बड़ी खुशी हो रही है because I get to interview quite like some one of the hottest tech startup from Karachi and yeah, right now Retailo, right? So they've raised a total of $9 million on their last round, which was, I believe, 6.7 million. It was probably like the largest seed funding, and it is co-founded by three amazing Pakistanis, so Khalifa, Ansari, Muhammad Nafis, and we have with us today Wahaj Ahmed, right? So Wahaj, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Arzish. Great to be here.
It's an honor. So Harsh, for our audience, would love to. So I'll just give a brief intro of you. So you've been uh, with Careem, and before that you've worked at Rocket Center, right? And
Yeah.
with Careem, you were the youngest general manager at the age of 25, which is just amazing, man. And then you ended up becoming a consultant at McKinsey. तो पहला सवाल तो ये है कि कैसे ये मैकेंजी छोड़ के लोग कंपनियां किस तरह बना लेते हैं यार? A lot of founders are like ex McKinsey, ex KPMG. So what's this?
Yeah, I think McKinsey gives you an amazing bird's eye view of the world. तो बड़ा आपको नजर आती है दुनिया इन पॉकेट्स नजर आते हैं स्पेसेस नजर आती हैं जहाँ पे चीजें हो सकती हैं and it prepares you for I think the grind यानी कि it's a very rigorous place. तो I think that's generally both these things are good for entrepreneurs. तो बड़ी अच्छी बात है हमारे एक one of our investors, early investors, Kylie, who's the GP for 500 startups. वो बड़ी अच्छी बात कहता है हमेशा कि being a founder is like having a telescope and a microscope. तो कहता है keep the microscope on the customers and the telescope on the company. So I think both चीजें जो है very much sort of ethos of McKinsey as well. So I'm not very surprised कि a lot of people go on from McKinsey to become founders.
Absolutely नहीं, thank you for sharing this. हम देखते हैं और मैकेंजी वाले लोगों को कहते हैं आप कुछ करें. और so like I would love it if you can give like your share your journey, right? So किस तरह आप शुरू हुए, किस तरह रॉकेट में आए, और रॉकेट से फिर करीम, मैकेंजी, and then how did you meet your co-founders, right? So you can take your time with this, but I really want to know is कि ये जो सफ़र है ये कैसे लम्ब से आपने पढ़ाई की, तो लम्ब से लेके $9 million रेस करने तक का सफ़र.
यार I think अल्लाह I'm very blessed यार मतलब अल्लाह का एहसान है कि we got to this place and very I honestly feel कि यार दो चीजें होती हैं. It's one like and this is I resonate with a lot of what Mudassir says. Mudassir is sort of a good mentor and वो कहते थे कि इंसान के पास ना दो चीजें होती हैं. एक यू आर इन अ बोट एंड आपके पास एक ओर है which is sort of mehnat and the other oar is luck. So if either of you use the either of the oars तो होता ही है कि बंदा गोल गोल घूमता रहता है. So both have to kind of stick together for you to move ahead. So I think that's sort of यार very fundamental for my journey as well. I started क्या कहते हैं studied in Karachi and being क्या कहते हैं I used to go to the school St. Pat's नाम उसका. I did my O levels there. Till O levels I was a good student. I had 11 A's I remember and मतलब पढ़ने लिखने में अच्छे थे. फिर when I got to A levels तो I started gaming a lot. So I'm a very big gaming enthusiast even now. So it's kind of my retreat. So and from there sort of the downfall on studies started and I didn't have the most amazing A levels but I somehow ended up at lumps still. लम्ब जाने की सबसे बड़ी वजह ये थी कि I found out कि वहाँ पे there was a lab which was like 24/7 and you could play there whenever you want. तो was a big motivation कि यार घर से दूर भी जाएंगे और कोई रोकेगा नहीं खेलने से और पूरे दिन खेलेंगे. So that was a very weird motivation. The second more, I guess, rational motivation was कि I studied a lot of subjects in A levels as well. तो शौक था कि ऐसी जगह पे जाएं जहाँ पे multiple चीजें combine कर सकें. So I ended up combining accounting and finance and computer science at LAMS. So it was a great time, I think, a very formative time. और जो है met a lot of my friends there. Met one of my co-founders now, Nokhe is there, and not surprisingly, we know each other from gaming. So we first time met in a lab. We played with each other. So I think तो from there, this was 2013. और उसके बाद जो है उसके बाद I guess from there me and Nokhe sort of were always like at that time following the tech ecosystem emerging. Daraz was very young then, 2013 में launch हुई थी और हम लोग कभी कभी ऑनलाइन ऑर्डर किया करते थे तो बड़ा इनक्रेडिबल फील किया करते थे कि यार चप्पलें मंगवा ली हमने ऑनलाइन. आई स्टिल रिमेंबर. सो इट वाज लाइक अ बिग सेलिब्रेशन मोमेंट फॉर ऑल ऑफ अस. तो उसके बाद फ्रॉम देयर यार व्हेन आई ग्रेजुएटेड लम्स आई डिडंट हैव अ गुड जीपीए. और तो इस वक्त तो ये फीलिंग होती है इंसान को कि 2.7 जीपीए थी मेरी. मुझे ऐसा लगता था नौकरी नहीं लगेगी एंड आई डोंट नो व्हाट विल हैपन. एंड माय डैड to send me to LUMS was like from a very privileged background, so he had to sell off some property just to make sure I could go. So and was a big sacrifice or was a lot of pressure. And eventually when I graduated and didn't have a good GPA, तो लोगों को थोड़ा सा मुझे भी अजीब लगता था कि ये क्या किया है, इतने पैसे खर्च हो गए हैं, अब नौकरी लगेगी नहीं, क्या होगा. So my first job started being I was at Creative Chaos. It was a content writing kind of gig, और I used to write proofread करते थे हम लोग product descriptions को. I don't know, you might have heard of it. उनका division है on SKU नाम है उसका. Stuart there. और from there.
I know Shakir Hussain is the founder.
Sorry. हाँ exactly. तो उनसे तो कभी मुलाकात नहीं हुई. मतलब आप सोच लो I was like in the worker layer, right? तो ऐसे हम जैसे 150 जो है होंगे राइटर और प्रूफ रीडर. तो वो करा यार. 1 महीने वो किया था. तो पर उस पॉइंट पे जाके थोड़ा सा मुझे महसूस होने लग गया यार ये क्या कर रहे हैं हम जिंदगी के साथ. प्रॉपर्ली नॉट सो स्मार्ट. एट दैट टाइम आई स्टार्टेड पहली दफा अपनी प्रॉपर्ली सीवी वगैरह बनाई कि यार कुछ करते हैं, लाइक रियली फोकस. From there I ended up at this place called Kinect, which was sort of a financial news writing website. I still think it was a glorified content writing job, but it was a great learning experience because in 2 months I wrote like 100,000 words on the S&P 500. तो पहली दफा मनी मार्केट्स का आइडिया हुआ, कैपिटल मार्केट्स का आइडिया हुआ कि कैसे चलती हैं, क्या होता है. हम लोग एक आर्टिकल लिखने के लिए कोई 6-8 आर्टिकल पढ़ा करते थे, यूएस की अर्निंग रिपोर्ट पढ़े होते. तो पहली दफा थोड़ा समझ में आया कि कंपनियां चलती कैसे हैं, वैल्यू कैसे होती हैं, क्या देखते हैं इन्वेस्टर कंपनियों में. तो बड़े ये formative time again. I did that for 2 months. Then क्या कहते हैं, after that sort of my first job landed at Rocket Internet का एक venture होता है Kemu, which was a C2C marketplace. And at Kemu I joined as a social media manager. उस टाइम पे लम से डिजिटल मार्केटिंग पढ़ के निकल रहे थे तो बड़ा शौक था सोशल मीडिया डिजिटल मैनेजमेंट का, और वो किया. But when I went to Kemu again, social media was such a small role कि उसमें बहुत इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. तो आई डिड द सोशल मीडिया मैनेजर रोल बट स्टार्टेड डूइंग ऑल सॉर्ट्स ऑफ डिफरेंट थिंग्स. इस टाइम पे आई वाज वर्किंग विद आदम दाऊद एंड couple of other people, so they were very kind enough to allow me to do other things while sort of doing my core role. तो आई थिंक वो बड़ा लर्निंग टाइम था कि केमू के अंदर ऑटोमेशन करी, प्रोजेक्ट्स लॉन्च करे बहुत सारे छोटे छोटे. Eventually I felt like at Kemu, because of my role I was a bit stuck because I was in a very different vertical than the commercial verticals. So I moved to another place called Ibex Global, which I did for I think just 20 days or so. Or it was a night role because जो है हमारी we were serving a company called Equinix, which is a big data center company in the US. और उसके लिए उनके हम मार्केटिंग टूल्स पे काम किया करते थे. उसका नाम था एलोकेडिया. So I was doing that, did that. It was a great role, but I realized कि यार रात was not for me and I couldn't do it. So at the same point I got a great offer from another rocket company at that time. उसका नाम था ट्रिपडा. So between Tripda and Kemu, I also met Tala for the first time. So he used to lead Food Panda at that time as its CEO. So and at Tripda, I joined as an entrepreneur in residence. So sort of a number two for the then country manager. And basically, again, Tripda was a great learning experience. So Tripda is basically a ride sharing startup. यानी कि अगर आप लाहौर से कराची जा रहे हो या लाहौर से इस्लामाबाद जा रहे हो अपनी गाड़ी पे, तो आप अपनी गाड़ी की एम्प्टी सीट्स एक ऑनलाइन प्लेटफॉर्म पे लगा दो. वहाँ पे जो लोग बस से जा रहे हैं, इंस्टेड दे कैन बुक सीट्स विद यू एज अपोज टू बुकिंग अ बस, सो टू शेयर फुल कॉस्ट. तो इट्स क्वाइट अ पॉपुलर गिग इन यूरोप. खास तौर पे BlaBlaCar इज अ बिग कंपनी दैट डज दिस. Pakistan, it didn't catch on as much. Globally, in fact, Tripta shut down as a venture 6 months in when I had joined. So उस पॉइंट के ऊपर थोड़ा सा मुझे वो लगने लग गया कि जब हम लम्स से निकल रहे थे, तो हम जब भी नई इंटरव्यू करने जाते थे नौकरियों में, तो वो कहते थे कि लम्स वाले जो होते हैं वो नौकरियां जल्दी छोड़ देते हैं, इसलिए हम लोग उनको रखते नहीं. तो उस वक्त जो है मैं सोचा करता था कि यार वी विल नेवर बी वन ऑफ दोज, और हम एक जगह पे रख के काम करेंगे ज़्यादा दिन. और फिर यहाँ पे मैं देख रहा था कि 2 साल में we had switched sort of 5 roles. Arzish, I think, are we stuck? Hello. I'm not sure if we are still rolling.
Yeah, sorry, my internet had some weird issue.
No problem, no problem. I for a moment thought कि मैं disconnect हो गया हूँ, तो I was just checking and then kind of saw.
नहीं नहीं, वो रिकॉर्डिंग लाइव हमारा चल रहा होता है, तो आप बोलते रहे अगर हम मेरा इंटरनेट चला जाए.
Okay, okay, cool. तो I was क्या कि यार उधर के जो है at Tripta the adventure shutdown, और मैं उस वक्त पूरा था कि यार बहुत ज़्यादा नौकरियां switch हो गई हैं, want to do something stable potentially. So from there I moved to Daraz. So at Daraz I was a क्या कहते हैं चैनल मार्केटिंग मैनेजर. सो आई यूज्ड टू मैनेज Daraz के गूगल के चैनल सारे, GDN, SEM, SEO. So did that. Again, very amazing time यार at Daraz, learning a lot. E-com प्लेटफॉर्म को कभी पहली दफ़ा इतने करीब से देखा. केमू के अंदर my role was a bit less commercial, so I had a very sarisa idea of the business. Daraz में I was kind of in the thick of it, so really got to understand. Post Daraz at that time, वहाँ से my manager at Tripda, Ahmed Usman, he had gone to Careem when Tripda shut down. So he reached out and said, "KR, this is a very exciting company. You should join." And I still remember जब मैं Careem का interview दे के आया, I interviewed Junaid को, who used to be the MD for Careem Pakistan at that time. तो जुनैद ने इंटरव्यू लिया और मुझे कहते हैं इंटरव्यू के दौरान कि तुम आ जाओ ना कल से. तो मैंने कहा जुनैद हाँ मैं, लेकिन मेरी जॉब चल रही है, मुझे नोटिस देना है. तो ही वाज लाइक नहीं, आई डोंट केयर, you have to be here in 3 days, and we have a marketing summit in Dubai, and you have to go there. So then I had to go back, come to Daraz, and at that time I was reporting to this guy. His name was Marco. And they went on to launch a startup in Pakistan as well, Bagit.pk. तो मार्को को मैंने बोला कि देखे ये करना है. He was very kind and he kind of made it happen. And was amazing time again. At Careem, I joined as a marketing manager. मेरा काम ये था कि I had to bring users onto the platform. और I was super excited कि यार ये करना है, and बड़ी डिफरेंट तरह की डिजिटल मार्केटिंग होगी. ऐप के ऊपर मैंने कभी बहुत ज़्यादा काम नहीं किया था, so I was very excited. When I came to Careem, I realized कि यार यूज़र तो बहुत ज़्यादा है हमारे पास एंड गाड़ियाँ नहीं हैं. So I went to Junaid and said कि आप मुझे किधर ले आएं, like we don't have a user problem at all. We have excess users. तो and users are complaining that there are not enough rides. So जुनैद ने कहा क्या करना है तुम्हें. तो मैंने कहा ये मुझे कैप्टन्स पे काम करने थे. So he was like sure. So at that point I kind of started building the initial captain funnels at Careem. तो काम उस वक्त ये था कि how do we bring an online audience trained offline and kind of online. So again तो वो जो पूरी जर्नी है, तो वी यूज्ड टू टेक लाइक 6 days टू ऑनबोर्ड अ कैप्टन, वी बॉट दैट डाउन टू 2 days में कैप्टन लाइव हो जाता था. वी बिल्ट एन एसएमएस एक्विजिशन इंजन, वी बिल्ट अ व्हाट्सएप एक्विजिशन इंजन, बहुत सारी चीज़ें हमने करी साथ साथ एट दैट टाइम. Again, so I eventually Junaid was like, hey, you're clearly not a marketing manager, so he changed my role to a growth hacker role, which was essentially sort of the fixer for Pakistan kind of for Careem. But it was a very exciting time here again. At that time, मेरा काम ये होता था, I used to just go to different cities and fix problems. यानी कि grow नहीं कर रहे होते तो demand पे काम करता था, supply नहीं कर रही होती तो supply पे काम करता था, and whatever was required to make the city grow faster. So I used to oscillate a lot between Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, and then eventually the many more cities we launched. At that point, then something kind of happened, which meant that one of the city GMs in Karachi was leaving, and Junaid was like, "We don't have a guy right now, so why don't you look at this role for a bit?" I was like, "Sure, but I'm only 25." So he was like, "You've been doing the role sort of वैसे ही," and then something more strange happened. The day this happened was the same day I got an offer from McKinsey as well. So literally the same day,
Oh.
like in the next 3-4 hours. So it was very weird because my McKinsey process had started when I was at Daraz. So
Oh,
बीच
that's
में
long.
8 महीने लग गए थे till this happened. So I had no idea कि even McKinsey was going to place an offer or not. And
बड़ा मुबारक
तो
है.
हाँ, बहुत ही मुबारक दिन था. तो it became more मुबारक because I got a call in the next hour from Mudassir. This was the first time I really spoke to him, and he was like, "Wow, I've heard you've been accepted into McKinsey, which is amazing. And क्या कहते हैं, what do you think about still staying at Careem, right?" And I was like, "Mudassir, I think McKinsey है, तो I should go." And he was like, yeah, I agree. And because Mudassir is from McKinsey, by the way.
Yeah.
तो Mudassir ने कहा कि yes, you should go, but also this is a great opportunity and you should do it as well. मैंने कहा कि क्या करें? So he was like, I'll talk to Salman, who was the MD for Careem, for McKinsey at that time in Pakistan. And he said, I'll sort of defer your joining at McKinsey if it's possible, if you want. And I was like, that would be amazing if I can do this and then go there. So he made it happen. He got my McKinsey acceptance deferred for 1 year. And I did the AGM role for Careem for 1 year then, which was an amazing time. मतलब हम 4,000 trips किया करते थे कराची में. We scaled it to 50,000 trips in 8 to 10 months. So बहुत मजेदार time गुजरा. And after that I went to McKinsey. So I think kind of got the best of both worlds. And मुदस्सिर हमेशा कहा करते थे, go to McKinsey, sort of it's a 2-year learning and it's kind of school. And then you go back and do your own thing or whatever. When I went to McKinsey, though, bilkul again, McKinsey was such a transformative experience कि I really enjoyed it, and I started thinking कि यार यहीं पे रहना है, partner बनना है, and जो है, but then suddenly again, life has its own ways. So this opportunity came about. And इस time पे I was in touch with Tala and Nofez all the time because we had worked together at Careem very closely. साथ scale किया था. So this time at Careem when I was 1 year for AGM, this is when I really bonded with both of them, and together we did a lot of things. Whether the share launch किए or multiple cities, Uber came into our markets. We had price wars, so it was a crazy time, honestly. Just to give you some sense of the crazy time, at this time, Careem used to spend a couple of $1 million to $3 million in Pakistan monthly. So, which was like, and when you get to spend money, it's very enjoyable generally because yeah, देखो, power capital is a way of shaping the world, right?
Yeah.
So once you have a view कि ये होना चाहिए, and you have the resources, so it really helps. तो उस टाइम पे हम लोग, अब मैं सोचता हूँ कि now that we have to raise money as well, I realize कि how blessed we were.
Yeah.
कि we were just about to spend money at that time. So was very enjoyable again. So I think वो चीज़ की. उसके बाद 3 years at McKinsey, I worked with a lot of different projects. I did public sector, private sector, financial services. I think the full suit, and then eventually this opportunity came along कि यार ये बहुत ही exciting vertical है पाकिस्तान में. There are not a lot of companies doing it. At that time, again, Hamza, who's the other founder of a competitor company, शायद पता ही होगा आपको, Bazaar, also based in Pakistan. Hamza was my first EM at McKinsey. So So we are great friends, और जो है अभी भी, and he was saying कि यार this is an amazing opportunity, and I at that time went to speak to मुदस्सिर कि यार ये करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए, and he was like super ज़रूर करना चाहिए, and I think the best market to do this potentially is in Saudi. So we went and did that. Okay, Saudi, it makes a lot of sense because it's a much more technically adopted market, but Pakistan was amazing in its own regard, and we were here. Then COVID happened, so we eventually decided on launching both the markets together, and we thought that it would help us scale faster and also build our technological capabilities a lot better. It would really utilize our resources as founders better, because all three of us were coming from backgrounds in which we've managed one city each before, या multiple cities, and we felt like अगर सारे एक ही जगह पे होंगे तो we'll be not using our resources wisely. So we thought it would be better if we went wider, and alhamdulillah, I think that's worked really well for us. We are scaling really fast in both cities and really developing a market leader position in both of them. So it's really क्या कहते हैं, paid out. I didn't think at that time we knew it was going to be very tough. So that's a bit of the journey, man. So I think you asked what happened from lumps till raising Retailo की funding. So January 2020, I thought कि यार ये करना चाहिए. I took a few weeks off from McKinsey, looked at the markets, met 50 दुकानदार खुद. उनके ऊपर एक हमने सिंपल सी एक ऐप बनाई हुई थी. वो ऐप बनी थी 30,000 रुपए की, जो हमारी पहली MVP ऐप थी. Babar Bhai made the app. He is one of our lead software engineers now. उस time पे he was working in some other company. उन्होंने वो ऐप बनाई थी, and that app was akin to a Google form. उसके ऊपर टाइम नहीं था लॉन्च करने के लिए, तो हमने कहा था कि यार उस पर तस्वीरें डालने के बजाय आप सॉलिड कलर डाल दें तस्वीरों की जगह. तो वो तस्वीरों पे SKU की जगह ना, जैसे मिल्क पैक है उसके आगे एक लाल रंग का गोल आता था और वॉलपेपर पे ब्लू, बिकॉज टाइम नहीं था. और जब मैं दुकानदार को वो ऐप देते हो, आप देखते हो कि दुकानदार उसी पे ऑर्डर कर रहा होता है, बिकॉज ही रिमेंबर्स द SKU. तो मेरा और बिलीफ रिफर्म हो गया कि अगर इस प्रोडक्ट के ऊपर इस तरह की ट्रैक्शन आ सकती है, तो दिस सेगमेंट का पोटेंशियल क्या है. तो उस ऐप से जो $200 की ऐप थी, हमने $8 लाख की GMV करी. तो वो I think from then at that point conviction was super high, and I went to Tala. He was in Dubai at that time, and OKSB. Stayed couple of weeks with him, convinced him कि यार this is the most amazing thing, let's do it. And he was like यार तुम मुझे पाकिस्तान बुला रहे हो वापस से, it's like a tough time, but he was like yeah, this is too good of an opportunity to pass on. And it sort of really connected with our life purpose, because Careem ने हमें spoil कर दिया था. We kind of got to see the impact with our own hands, कि जब यार एक चीज नहीं होती और आप बनाते हो, तो आप देखते हो कि यार लोगों की जिंदगी कैसे आसान हो रही है, राइट. लाइक ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, मैं फुट ट्रैवल करता हूँ इतना ज्यादा करीब से, मैं देखता हूँ यार ये मूवमेंट नहीं हो सकती थी पहले. अपने घर वालों को देखता हूँ और खुशी होती है, और लोगों को देखता हूँ, कैप्टनों से बात करता हूँ और खुशी होती है. सो आई थॉट कि यार अगेन वी बीन ब्लेस्ड विद एन अपॉर्चुनिटी कि यार दिस रिटेल सप्लाई चेन इज सो इनएफिशिएंट, इतनी ख्वारी होती है इसमें लोगों की, कि यार ये एक वापस से वी हैव एन अपॉर्चुनिटी टू सिंप्लीफाई इट. सो सीम लाइक ऑलमोस्ट kind of destiny in many ways के opportunity सही time पे आई. Both Tala and Nokhez were also thinking of doing something at that time, and this sort of so aligned with the purpose that we were doing. So at that point I think it was very natural for all of us के इतनी चीजें एक साथ सितारे कहते हैं ना align होना possible नहीं लग रहा था. That happened. We took the decision. I literally took the first उस वक्त fundraising के लिए मैंने deck बनाया कि यार we are doing this traction और करते हैं raising money. And the first call we took was with Khaili, who is at 500 Startups. So हमारे तो Khaili से बात हुई. He loved it. He said यार amazing. And there were many challenges at that point, because 500 जो function that he leads is 500 Durians, which is a MENA fund. MENA fund नहीं है, वो Southeast Asia fund है. So typically for them to invest into Pakistan is a challenge. So, but Khaili was like, yeah, give me a few days, I'll figure it out. So they made somehow allocation that they could put money in us, and that was enough. That was not a lot of money at that time, and but enough to keep us going. उस वक्त कोई हमारे खर्चे भी नहीं थे as a startup. तो really we got our first warehouse in Karachi, and we started working from there. एंड जब हमने वहां से काम करना शुरू किया तो वी स्टार्टेड रियलाइजिंग इवन द फर्दर कम्प्लेक्सिटी इन दिस बिजनेस. पहले ऐसा लगता था कि ऑर्डर लेना मुश्किल काम है, फिर समझ में आना शुरू हुआ कि ऑर्डर डिलीवर करना सबसे मुश्किल काम है. फिर we started building our own warehousing tech, our delivery systems, our logistics. Some amazing people joined us at that time, from people who've helped us scale Careem, people who've been with us through our journeys. And it was amazing, yaar, कि आप, you kind of, a lot of these people, you just call them once and you tell them you're doing this, and they show that incredible trust to join you, which is really helpful. And I think without them, I don't think this is possible. Like, I keep saying we are a very, very small part of it, and the team is honestly, mashallah, super amazing. And from them now, I think 8 of my batchmates are also in the company. So I think it gives me a lot of comfort to have people that you really trust and know doing important things. And all of them kind of individually brilliant in their own regards. And I didn't realize, yeah, one of them went on to be an amazing engineer. One of them became like a very touted product manager. The other guy was like a FMCG ka cheetah. So it just sort of all came together into this one sort of place. And eventually, I think at that point, we were growing so fast, we reached out to Shuruk, who were like super excited, and we raised money from them. This was the first $2.3 million that we raised. And after that, at that point, the biggest thing was कि how will we execute in 2 markets, because हम सऊदी में भी कर रहे थे और हम कराची में भी कर रहे थे. सऊदी we couldn't go because of COVID. So Tala and Nokesh, हाँ, so we were managing remotely for a while.
Wow.
So and then क्या कहते हैं, again, but Tala and Nokesh both have spent so much time in Riyadh. Okay, we had an amazing team join us there. Abdul Aziz joined. So all people who worked with scaling Careem in Saudi, and तो क्या कहते हैं, we got them on board. And eventually Tala and Nokesh landed there in, I think, December. And since then, yaar, wahan pe bhi the growth has been stellar and acceptance has been crazy. So I think this was the final sort of validation for our backers again to say, yeah, this is going amazing and take it to the next level. So I think that's when we raised our seed round. And I think we are good for another 12 to 18 months or so now, and क्या कहते हैं, scaling well. तो वही वाली बात है कि there's so much to do in this vertical. We are building warehousing tech, we are building consumer tech, we are building last mile tech, we are building credit deployment, we are building so many things, right? So it's super exciting, and digital adoption भी आप देख रहे हो, and growth भी हो रही है. So honestly, very phenomenal times. And this is sort of the overall. I think I took a bit of time, but the journey.
नहीं, बड़ा बड़ा मजा आया. तो मतलब कोविड तो आपके लिए फिर पॉजिटिव रहा होगा ना इस एस्पेक्ट में. तो डिजिटल अडॉप्शन ज़्यादा हो गई, यू नो, रिटेलर्स का भी, लेट्स से जिस तरह नॉर्मल ई कॉमर्स ने ग्रो किया है, आई एम श्योर B2B ई कॉमर्स को भी यही इफेक्ट आया होगा, राइट?
Yeah, obviously big uptick, no doubt about it. In terms of adoption, the pro is clear, right? The con is also very difficult. That as teams, it's really difficult to operate, right? Because the operations team, again, we take all sorts of precautions, but it's always at risk, right? And also the office has to be remote, and a lot of things, because for a startup, things are not as structured in the start, right? तो सबसे बड़ा चैलेंज ये होता है कि आप जब लोगों को एक दूसरे को जानते ही नहीं हो, अब जैसे 400 लोग जमा हो गए 9 महीने में, अब मोस्ट ऑफ दोस पीपल डोंट नो ईच अदर, एक दूसरे को जानते ही नहीं है, तो वो बैठ भी नहीं सकते, मिल भी नहीं सकते. So it's a challenge, especially with our tech team. I think I feel a bit sad sometimes that they are far, and we obviously connect with them, but for them to really experience the business is also difficult. So I think वो एक challenges होते हैं. The org building part becomes really hard. The adoption bit becomes easy. So I think net sort of equal effect मुझे लगता है.
अच्छा, ठीक है. कुछ चीजों में फायदा और कुछ में जरा मुश्किलात ज्यादा.
हाँ, और दूसरी बात है फंड रेजिंग, I think typically is much harder in COVID.
अच्छा, interesting. But very very unusual के like Pakistani startups have raised more funding during this.
Exactly, right? And yeah, I think it speaks a bit to the caliber of the startups overall, and just हमें भी अगर हटा दो तो यार बाकी are some of the smartest people I know, even very because this is more of a fireside chat. So OS at Dastagir again is a very, very close friend. He and I are same batch. We kind of
So,
studied 4 years together. I think we've taken cumulatively 15 classes altogether, maybe had 200 meals together. So that close. So again, so it's a very interesting time. I think so many of these startups are coming up and all of them are doing so well, mashallah. Thankfully, we are in a market that is as of massive. 200 million लोगों की जब market होती है,
हाँ, तो
so then
मेरा अगला सवाल ये था कि how does it work, right? So there is Retailo, there is Dastagir, there is Bazaar, there is Tajir, right? And all of all of
Jugnu,
them are doing well.
Retailestan.
हाँ,
Yeah,
जो
again,
टेलिस्तान पता
so
नहीं 3-4 और होंगे जिनका किसी को नहीं भी पता. So how does it work, right? So do the brands that you have on board are they like exclusive, or are you all replacing like the traditional distributors and wholesalers and all of that? So how does it work?
yeah, just to give you a sense, Arzish, the market कितनी massive है, just to tell you a sense के I estimate that पाकिस्तान की कराची की market is 130 billion PKR per month. सही
Wow.
है? हम लोग सारे cumulatively मिला के शायद 2 billion PKR करते हैं. So we are like a drop in the ocean in one city. सही
अच्छा,
है? और again ये बात तो है, this market is growing at 6% annually.
ठीक है.
So which means 0.5% monthly, which means this market grows by 1 billion a month. So
Wow.
so imagine 2 महीने में it grows by Retailo, Dastagir, Bazaar, Jugnu all combined. So
So
मतलब 2 महीने में ये growth हो जाती है. So
the opportunity is much bigger.
yeah, and exponentially growing.
ठीक
Uh,
है, ठीक है.
So I think Pakistan retail will be so massive that I would say there are room for even 10 more such companies right now.
Amazing.
Because जिस तरह इंडिया आप देखो, there are 22 such companies and 22 out of 15 of them raised $100 million or more. The reason is the same, right? Even though India had the first unicorn in this space, which was Udaan. So the reason is that retail is massive यार. और आपको नजर किस तरह आता है कि अगर आप एक नॉर्मल परचून की दुकान पे जाओगे ना, तो उससे पूछोगे आप किससे सामान खरीदते हो, आप दो दुकानों की सेम सप्लाई लाइंस नहीं होगी. Everybody would have a different supply line because of that is such the fragmented nature of the market. यानी कि इतनी सप्लाई, तो मतलब मुझे अभी तो for the next 3 to 5 years honestly I don't think there's gonna be much competition. It's a land grab mostly.
अच्छा, अमेजिंग. सो आपने अगले 2-3 साल की बात की, तो मेरे अब 2 आखिरी सवाल होंगे. एक ही कि व्हाट्स नेक्स्ट फॉर रिटेलो द इंडस्ट्री, ये जो आपने पैसे रेज किए हैं, सो व्हाट्स हैपनिंग नाउ?
So I think two things here. One is we'll really expand aggressively, both across two verticals. One is across more cities, and the second is across offering a wider range of products and services. So दोनों are priorities, and footprint increase होंगे nationally and internationally. And then secondly, on the terms of products and services, more SaaS products हम launch करेंगे, more हम SKUs launch करेंगे. So I think these are the verticals on which we are expanding. So great times here. I think we finally have the capital to live some of that ambition. So that is great. What I think you asked two questions by the way. What's next?
नहीं,
And
अमेजिंग. बट प्रॉब्ली आई थिंक जिस तरह आप अपॉर्चुनिटी बता रहे हैं, तो 100-200 मिलियन आप अगले राउंड में शायद और रेस करना चाहिए आप.
yeah, I think and all of us will raise it. Again, I don't think it will be one company. I think all of these
या
companies will raise significant. 100-200 million, maybe not in the next 1-2 years, but inshallah in the 3-4 years.
या
Honestly, I see it happen. I see it happening. Yeah.
तो आखिरी मेरा सवाल है कि बढ़िया, एक तो बड़ा मजा आया गपशप करने में, लेकिन so there's this thing called the Careem Mafia now, right? So PayPal Mafia यहाँ सिलिकॉन वैली में था, पाकिस्तान में Careem Mafia अब है, because all the people who had this experience of working with Careem specifically and a bunch of other startups, but Careem का शायद बहुत ज़्यादा visible नजर आता है region में. They went on and started companies in so many different verticals and are doing well. इवन आपके इसमें भी, आपके कंपेटर में भी आई थिंक है, और सारा कुछ है, आपके दोस्त इतने हैं, आपकी टीम वाले सारे करीम के. तो व्हाट इज दिस करीम माफिया इफेक्ट, एंड फ्रॉम पर्सपेक्टिव ऑफ समवन who actually started his career working from like rocket in the early days joined Careem, I would say. And then वहाँ से
बिल्कुल.
वो जो experience है, because I am sure like मुदस्सिर जो है इसको differently answer करेगा, right? वो तो शुरू से ही founder है, right? But someone who kind of learned from Careem and then used that learning to build something, right? I want to understand like what's this phenomenon?
Yeah, there are two parts to it, right? One is that uh, culture is amazing, and second is, yeah, people were all super talented, right? I think दोनों चीजें हैं, you cannot एक चीज से दूसरी नहीं हो सकती. तो I think firstly Careem did the most amazing job like collecting these people together in one place. So I think मैं खुद सोचता हूँ कि in typical startup teams that I've worked with before, इतना सारा talent एक जगह नहीं होता typically.
ठीक
So
है.
I think that is the sort of base. But दूसरा यार, culture is kind of hard to explain, but there are two things which distinctively I would point out. One is of innovation, right? You can try anything, and but you need to get the job done. So I think at that same time, वो accountability और innovation दोनों साथ चलती हैं. So I think that really pushes you in many dimensions, जैसे मैं बता नहीं सकता. And the second is कि यार mistakes are
Encourage.
again not encouraged, because nobody wants everybody to make mistakes, right? But more like, yeah, mistakes are not penalized as long as the thought processes were good. I'll give you examples of both ताकि contextualize ही कर पाते लोग. यार culture इस तरह का है कि यार हम लोग सारे like तला नौकेज वगैरह, it was like कि काम और fun में sort of boundary खत्म हो जाती है, right? Like this is what you kind of enjoy doing. I think that's very important at a startup because it takes a lot out of you, right? Like because आप इतनी सारी चीजें कर रहे होते हो, अगर enjoy नहीं कर रहे तो there's not much in it. So I think fundamentally we all used to enjoy it a lot, and that kind of brings out a lot of the best out of people because आप काम भी ज्यादा ही कर रहे होते हो, आप enjoy भी कर रहे होते हो. It's sort of a constant thing. Like आई थिंक मैंने शायद अपने करीम के उसमें 15-16 घंटे 7 दिन काम किया होगा, लेकिन कभी ऐसा नहीं लगता था हम काम कर रहे हैं
अच्छा.
बिकॉज कहीं जा रहे हैं. आई थिंक दैट वाज नंबर वन. एंड नंबर टू, द अबाउट द मिस्टेक्स, यार आई मेड मिस्टेक्स व्हिच ended up wasting like $400,000 in a day, right?
Wow.
And उस पे क्या होता है, मतलब सिर्फ calls you and says कि यार what happened, what are you thinking, and you're like XYZ, and he's like fine, right? तो मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि डांट नहीं पड़ती है, but it's like कि यार at that point I thought I would get fired, right? But like I didn't, right? So वो इस तरह की चीजें कि तो that liberty to execute what you are thinking, and it's fine if you fail, but as long as the thinking was good and what you wanted to do. Because so out of those moonshots, some work. So very specifically put, यार I'll give you two examples. हम जब करीम में शुरू में काम करा करते थे ना, तो everybody was afraid कि मैं आपके साथ गाड़ी में बैठूंगा, आप मुझे लूट लोगे या आप कुछ गलत कर दोगे मेरे साथ, right? Because it was a fear. तो we thought यार how to address this fear. तो हम एक product feature बनाते हैं जिसको हमने कहा share your ride. तो हमने कहा था यार wow, this will be a game changer, और जो है जब लोग अपनी राइड दूसरे लोगों से शेयर कर सकेंगे, they will feel safe, especially women, and this would be amazing. And we launched this feature, and it was like one of the most celebrated launches. And after 6 months, 1% of the user base has used it. So yeah, so and another thing was कि यार we limousine, Careem was a limousine service, right? यानी कि it was a premium limousine service. But we realized in Pakistan कि यार हमारी propensity to pay as customers नहीं है. So we said कि यार हम ये मेहराने और कल्टस से लॉन्च कर देते हैं और उसको हम गो बोलेंगे, एक नई कैटेगरी बना देंगे, राइट? और बहुत अमेजिंग होगी क्योंकि लोग अफोर्ड कर सकेंगे. एंड लाइक everybody was like यार we are, it doesn't go against the brand, we are a premium brand, doesn't make sense, we don't appeal to that segment, and that sort of became our main product line 6 months later. तो लाइक दोनों चीजें मतलब क्या होंगी आपको नहीं पता, राइट? करते हुए, बट मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि when we launched Go, we didn't think it would be as big as Share Your Ride, but it became our business. When we launched Share Your Ride, we thought that it would be our business, but it didn't become. But both things were equally celebrated, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is sort of the culture, the innovation that is built. So, and which is honestly very amazing, yeah. So I think that's what makes it tick.
नहीं, अमेजिंग अमेजिंग. आई थिंक लाइक कमाल है स्टार्टअप्स का कि how one company, maybe a bunch of people who started something like Kareem, it can have an impact on so many lives, right? So many countries, so many livelihoods, so many industries now. तो अपनी इंडस्ट्री में तो चले एग्जिट कर ही लिया, बट अब कितनी चीज़ें डिसरप्ट हो रही हैं, कितने मुल्कों में हो रही हैं। आई थिंक पूरे मीना रीजन में एक इफेक्ट है, पाकिस्तान में तो ऑब्वियसली है ये, which is fantastic, right? And this is the kind of startup ecosystem we are proposing, right? So ये जो सारा काम हो रहा है, जो companies है, this is the future. But with this, thank you so much Wahaj bhai for joining. Means a lot. इसके बाद
थैंक
मैंने
यू.
फ्लाइट पकड़नी है, मैं अपना बैग पकड़ूंगा इसके बाद। तो और इंशाल्लाह see you in Pakistan hopefully.
Amazing, amazing. See you soon, Arzish. Thank you for having me. Really nice being to you.